Welcome everybody back to Planet Coaster. My name is Shadow Phoenix, as you guys well know, and today we are back in Crystal Gardens Park. So, what we are going to be doing today is something you guys really enjoyed out of Whitaker Lake was when I built that custom-made like giant flume ride using the roller coaster. Well, some of you asked how come I didn't use the water coaster. At that point, the water coaster hadn't actually been put into the game yet. So I had to improvise, and I used the Anubis coaster. However, in Crystal Gardens, we did have the water coaster. So as soon as I made this video pretty much right as this DLC dropped that had the water coaster in it, or the patch, I should say, that dropped it. Wait, was it DLC? I don't remember if it was a patch or DLC, but one or the other had this in it, and it's not perfect. It wasn't what I was thinking it was going to be, but it still works better than using the Anubis coaster because we still get the flumes and stuff. So I had to kind of work around. There was a couple of things on this build that really became kind of issues in trying to get them to work. One of them was the drop right here. Just trying to get the drop in just the right order to go underneath of, or the right angle, I should say, to go underneath of the actual lift hill that I wanted. The original one I did in Whitaker Lake was just a straight, basically, a circular track, I guess I should say an oval track. This one is more of a figure 8, which some of these things come in. One that comes to mind, I think Cedar Points and Knott's Berry Farms, both of those rides have these figure 8 patterns. You can see I even tried to do a double drop. The Amazon Falls or Congo Falls or whatever it's called now, Kings Island, has like this double drop kind of thing. So I even tried to do that. After I got the angle and stuff right, the next part was trying to get where it actually comes off. So you will notice the log flume, the river rapids, and the water coaster all have a thing where the drop is at a set level. Like not necessarily the drop, but where it enters back into the water. The end of the drop, I should say, it is all at a set level and a set angle. So you have to kind of get your lift hill to kind of match that, and that was kind of tough. So not gonna lie, that was actually an issue there. I ended up with where it actually comes around back into the station being much more rounder than what I would prefer, but it still kind of works for it. Now, one thing you just saw me do there, a lot of people ask me how I put my stuff into the water. What I do is I dig out the trench first, right? Then I use the move tool, or I guess the multi-select tool. I grab the coaster, as you can see there, and I lift it straight up using the advanced move tool. Because if you just click on the thing and hit move, it takes it everywhere, and you're going to lose exactly where you have it. But if you want the exact placement, use multi-select first. Select your ride or coaster, then use the advanced move tool using multi-select, and you can select the rides and move them specifically where you want them, and more precisely, I should say, rather than just like using the move tool and it like jumps to somewhere else and it screws everything up. So then after I move it up, I'll usually will move it like straight up, and then I'll put the water down, and then I'll bring the coaster back down in the water, and that's how that's done. Or that's how I do it anyway. Alright, so now I'm just trying to build the path and the entrances and stuff. The exit, the entrance. I wanted to have a little bridge over top of the splashdown area that people who exit the ride would be like going over, and they could stand there and kind of get wet. Like if it's a hot day, some people may not want to actually ride the ride or wait in line to ride the ride. So what they will do, and I've noticed this personally, what people will do is they will go stand on the exit bridge right where the splash comes down at and let the splash hit them. Because these rides are notorious for having a huge splash, like a huge wave of water, usually. I don't know what we were doing over there at the Gardens restaurant, but still. Just making some tiny adjustments here at this point. Just trying to get things right and make it move how I want. Trying to get the right speeds and stuff. And yeah, we still need to tweak it a little bit more before it's finished here in a moment. But let's go ahead and we're going to start on the station. So for the station, stations are always what I have the biggest problem with, is trying to figure out how to make a decent looking station to work with what we have in Planet Coaster. Because the actual like ride stations of the rides are slightly large, and there's only so much we can do with them. So we have to work our exits and entrance ramps and all that stuff off of it, the queue lines and things. So it can kind of become difficult to actually come up with a decent station. For this one, I just went very, very simplistic. I used two different angles of roofs, the 2 meter and the 1 meter. I used the 2 meter in the middle, and then had it come off into kind of taper off into a 1 meter, and it works for me. I'm pretty happy with that. I was trying some different stuff here to get some like different designs and things on it. I tried to use this fence right here to see how that would look, but the only place I've ever been able to get that to work at and actually look good was when I did the Big Bad Wolf recreation. When it worked really, really well for that station, but I've never been able to get it to look right since. Nothing else it seems to work with other than that. So again, like I said, I'm just going to go with a very, very basic station, just a roof, and we'll put some fencing around it and do some stuff around the edges. This is something that I personally like to do right here. I don't like leaving the edges of the roof just like shown there. I prefer to cover them up, so I will use like the wooden poles, or like the bigger ones, or even these I don't even know what these are, but they look more plastic, so sometimes I like to use those. Now the sign. Oh man, this sign was another thing that I had a huge problem with. I had an idea that I wanted to go with, and one of them was perfect, but the signs that I needed to use were just so much larger that I couldn't get it to work, and like it would stick out of the top of the roof or it would stick out of the bottom of the roof, and I couldn't figure out a good way to fix that. Also, I had a huge problem just trying to get those to like kind of indent into the actual like wood. As you can see here, like it was always seeming like there was an angle of it that was kind of coming out. There we go. I finally got one of them to work, but I'm still not finished yet, so it didn't really matter much. See that right there? I loved how that came out. That was perfect, but as you can see here, it kind of like sticks out of the top of the roof, and there was no way I could actually fix that. Other than maybe bringing down the roof a little bit more and making everything higher on it there. Which, I don't know, I guess I could go back and maybe do that. Now that I'm looking at it, there is an option there that I could have went with. But at the time, I guess I just didn't think of it or didn't want to do it, one or the other. But I could go back, raise the roof a little bit, put an edge around the bottom of it, and make it just a little, like, higher. And then I could probably go back and do that right with it. But yeah, that could probably work. In the end, that's the sign that I decided to go with. I wanted to get, like, this huge water drop on the side of it here, so you'll see me do that in just a moment. I don't know what I was doing there with the shapes. I have no clue. I think did I end up going with that? Yeah, I was trying to find something to put around the bottom of it, and I think I just decided to just go with these. Yeah, this is what I went with. I remember the ride at this point, yeah. Yeah, those are the ones I decided to go with right there. This is something also I like to do in a lot of stuff as well. Is I like to put, like, use fences to put them, like, turn them upside down and put them on the bottom of stuff. And it turns out really, really well, as you can see here. I really liked how this came out. All in all, this ride really, it came out great. There's a lot more stuff you're going to see me here do in just a short minute that really brings this ride to life and makes it look even more realistic. And here, at this point, I'm trying to do that double drop again, because I just wasn't happy with how close that the actual drop was to the lift hill. Like, it was really just coming too close to that lift hill, and I just wasn't happy with it. So there again, I was trying to do that double drop, and it just wasn't having it. So I ended up just going with this. I was just going with a straight drop down, and I figured that would probably be easiest, and we just went that way. I still, to this day, am not really happy with how close it is to the lift hill, but it was the only way I could get it. I was also trying to shorten the roundness around back to the station as well, because I felt that was just coming around. It was taking way too long. It was meandering back in the station, so that was just taking too long. Now what I was trying to do was I was putting down some splash effects to get a much bigger splash. And then what I do is I time that with triggers so that when the boat hits the water, it hits the triggers as well, and then makes an even bigger splash than what it normally does. If I angled them just right, another secret to using a lot of triggers and stuff there is that triggers, at this point, I don't know if it's been changed or not, because there's a lot of things changed with triggers and prestige and stuff here in the last patch, and not for the better. But I was trying, the more triggers and stuff you place down, the more prestige goes up. And I was really trying to get the prestige up on this ride quite a bit, because it was quite low, because all it does is go up and then come back down, and it's a short ride. So the prestige wasn't quite that high on it, and I was afraid that people wouldn't come and ride it. And I was right, because once I opened the park and let the people in to see how like they would actually ride the ride, it didn't get that much, foot traffic over here. So I think that would change now, because I've made a lot of changes to the park since this, and there's a whole other section over here now that should get more foot traffic, and maybe we'll get some more people in the park and stuff. So I used to use the basic wooden rails here and went around the bottom of it to get some fencing on that, because we don't want people falling off into or just off of the ride platform. So got to put some fencing down for safety. I mean, we're not a Six Flags park here. We're actually concerned about our guest safety. And then I just move these over here, and we'll do the queue line like that. This was, believe it or not, although it was time consuming, this was the easiest part of this build. Just going around with this. I hadn't even gotten to the hardest part of this build yet, which you're going to see here in just a minute. I don't even know if I actually ended up... Yeah, right here. Okay, so the drop doesn't have the actual flume around it like the top of the lift and most of the other coaster does. Like, you can put a flume around it, you can have it just being like track, but the drop itself is just track, and that doesn't really look right for these log flume, or for not log flumes, but these giant flumes. So I went over to Whitaker Lake, and I grabbed the flume that I custom made out of basic shapes from that, and I brought it over to this ride, and then I expanded it out. I made it larger so that it fits this one, and fixed some things that were wrong with it in Whitaker Lake. And then I take those pieces and I basically did the entire lift hill, or not lift hill, I did the entire drop in these flume pieces here, which really adds a whole other level to this ride. Like, bam, it kicked it up a notch. You know what I mean? Some Emerald references there. Totally did. I really love this whole section right here that I did. It was time consuming. I will not gonna lie, this took a while to do and to get just right, because I ran into a problem up here at the top. Like, how am I gonna get this to work with, how's it gonna like actually connect with the flume that's actually in the game itself? How am I gonna do that? Because you got this whole engine section here and this section right here with the chain lift right there, and I had to make that work. So what I ended up doing was just taking some more basic shapes and just filling that in and making it look like a huge kind of like just big block section, and just filling in the bottom of that. And that is pretty much where we're going to end off right here. I will have a little bit of a showcase here for you so you can guys kind of see what we've got done on this park. Or at least in this section here with this ride, and kind of show it off quite well, and all the trigger effects and stuff, and you can see what it looks like. And with that, I bid you adieu, guys. I will see you in the next video. Thanks so much for watching, and make sure you tune in to me on Twitch as well. Later, guys. Hey everyone, if you'd like to help support me and my channel, I have a Patreon page where you can do just that. You can pledge anything from $1 or more. Anyone who pledges $15 or more gets a unique, specially designed roller coaster and Planet Coaster made just for them. My little way of saying thanks. You can also just send donations as well if you don't want to join Patreon. And you can find those links in the video description below. Every tiny red cent I make from these means the world to me and is extremely helpful. If you're interested in my PC setup that I work with and play on that you see here, every piece of the system is described below with links to Amazon if you want to purchase them or anything else. Thanks for tuning in to my videos and my channel. If you aren't already a subscriber, click that on the screen below. And you can also check out a few of my other videos on the screen here as well. You can keep up to date on what's going on in my own little world via Twitter or watch me stream live on Twitch as well. Links are in the video description below. So wherever you are in the world, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night.